Welcome to a very spooky edition of Catholic in America.
On this episode, we are talking about whether Catholics should celebrate Halloween. Welcome back to Catholic in America.
Enough of this.
That's right. It wasn't totally cool and awesome.
Time to be serious. Time to be serious.
So we're talking about Halloween today.
Yep, we're talking about Halloween. So the question
Are you going to hell if you celebrate Halloween?
Yeah, you're going to go to hell celebrating Halloween. Are you a bad Christian or a bad Catholic for celebrating Halloween? So I guess we should start with, if there's anyone in America who doesn't know what Halloween is, and maybe they don't, maybe they think Halloween is all about dressing up and having candy, but what is Halloween? Where did it come from? What's the history of this thing?
So there's lots of kind of links, and of course it always goes back to the Irish.
Everything goes back to the Irish.
to the Irish. But yeah, so the links of it really, there's some things that say there's some pagan roots to it, and there probably are some crossovers there. But in Christian Europe, it was the preparation. It was the Eve, All Hallows Eve, for All Saints Day, which is November 1st, and of course All Souls Day, which is November 2nd. The whole month of November is a time, especially that we pray for, remember the dead, pray for the poor souls in purgatory. And so there's all sorts of festivities that were associated with that, including dressing up like goblins and ghouls and demons as kind of like a mockery of those things.
Right.
Sometimes dressing up like saints as well. So it's got a very multi-level kind of history, but it comes from Christianity. It comes, ultimately it comes from Christian cultures. Sometimes poking fun at the demonic and the evil, sometimes celebrating and praying for the dead, sometimes celebrating those who were saints, and it's kind of a mix and mash of all those things. Sure. And now we get Hershey's and Reese's and things like that.
I think it's a good deal. I think it's a pretty good deal. You get to go around and get free candy from people. I never fussed about it. I guess that's pretty obvious, but yeah, I never fussed about it. So
my mom fussed a lot about it.
Yeah,
she called it the devil's holiday.
Yeah, which I think
might be true for a particular reason.
It's important to say, because a lot of times people have rejected it. Catholics, Christians, people say like this is something demonic, this is something evil, and I think we want to make sure that we're not saying that it's okay, do whatever demonic things. Right. There are lots of demonic things that find their home on Halloween or their surrounding days, as far as witches or covens or demonic practices, occult practices, summoning demons, using Ouija boards and all that sort of stuff. So we would say, can a Christian do those things? No, they cannot. And we've had whole other episodes about that, about the occult and the doors that it opens up to. Yeah. All sorts of problematic things in your spiritual life. So anyway, so
that's not what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. But I do think it is important to say that those things have been linked in people's minds, and so maybe sometimes when they are Christians or Catholics and tell their kids, no, you can't celebrate the devil's holiday. October 31st is a day where we just sit inside and sing hymns together, and you won't go outside, and you won't put on a costume dressed like Superman or something like that. There are some reasons behind that too. So.
You can't go wait up for the great pumpkin to come either, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, it also depends. Part of it is also, it does depend upon what you're dressing up as.
Right. Well, I would think that, like my parents, I think would have called it a demonic holiday because of all the candy we brought home and how they didn't want us to have all that candy, and we didn't need all that candy. I know these days there's like a lot of the dentists and orthodontics that they'll give you a certain amount of money for how many pounds of candy you turn in. So I can remember, we did this with our kids when they were younger.
Eat the candy?
Yeah, I don't know what they did, but they said they would send it to the troops overseas. Right. And so I was like, that sounds like a pretty good reason to go turn in some candy, And so our kids would get into that. They would go and turn in their candy, and we were just like, they don't know what they're doing, which is fine. But they don't know what they're doing, turning candy in. So,
I mean, I would think that Halloween and the candy would keep the dentists and orthodontists in business.
they'd be happy about it.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is good for business, man.
It's a scam. It's like when tobacco tries to put out those, like tobacco-free Florida things. It's all coming back. It's all coming back to them somehow. I don't trust big teeth, big dentistry. So yeah.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things that are associated with Halloween. One of the things that's very popular about Halloween is, there's actually a movie named after it, is film.
Jamie Lee Curtis, man.
Yeah. It's film and movies and those sorts of things. So, what would we say to someone about that if they say, "Oh, my Halloween practice is to go home and watch, 3 horror movies until I'm, scared half to death and can't go to sleep"?
Depends on the horror movie.
Yeah, and I think we can definitely say not all horror movies are created equal. Not right. And some, I would say, even could be morally detrimental to watching it. Right. I don't think just because you have something that deals with evil topics or even supernatural evil topics that it's automatically you should never watch it or never engage with it as a piece of art. But I do find, I'm not a big horror movie person. As a kid,
I love
Freddy
horror.
Krueger ruined my childhood. I can say this.
Dude,
my parents.
Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds ruined my childhood.
Really?
I didn't like clowns.
Well,
I didn't like clowns.
The clowns were bad too. So I never was allowed to watch those movies. However, my friends explained them all to me in great detail. And whatever I invented in my imagination was way worse. And was very, very detrimental. I had older brothers who were very loving and kind, and one of my older brother Sean sometimes would tell me with great love and care and concern for me as his younger brother that if any part of my body was out from underneath the covers, that Freddy Krueger would cut it off, which led me to many sleepless, suffocated nights.
Hot and sweaty because you can't put your feet out.
So anyway, that's the sort of thing, having those sorts of movies, 'cause I guess it is the time they're going to be on TV and everything else. I think like any genre movies, like a romantic movie, you should be discerning. Is this a movie that actually builds up the human person and doesn't have degrading images of men and women and scenes that are detrimental to my mental or emotional health, the way I think about relationships? You should have that with romance movies or romantic comedies or anything. You should also have it with horror movies too. Is this something that is degrading of the human person, that is ultimately evil and tearing us down and maybe introducing images or thoughts that are satanic? We probably shouldn't be putting that, watching those things.
Any limits, Father Tom, on horror movies?
Obviously, there's limits. But obviously, there's limits. But horror is also a good chunk of horror is also satire. Yeah. So you're making fun of certain things, and so there's
which is very Halloween. Halloween is again, you dress up like goblins and ghouls.
Trick or treat. So like in satire, good satire as well as mockery.
Yeah.
There's a place for that both in art and film and in culture of satire, as well as like to a certain extent. I do like a quote. I forget who it is, but is that Satan cannot stand to be mocked.
Right.
And so there's a certain mockery, good-hearted mockery. I think that God laughs at evil, and not at the principle, but the idea that evil takes itself seriously.
Yeah.
And Satan takes himself seriously. And so there's a good point of actually where part of satire and part of good real mockery, what mockery is actually is to put evil back into its place. Recognize it exists, it has its place, right? But it will not eternally exist, and it will eventually disappear and go along. And all those who put their hope in evil and in evil methods is ultimately placing their hope in something which is stupid. And so that's, part of it is also like there's a stupidity, a frivolity in making fun of certain things. And I would say that also in movies, like there's certain movies which are very clearly like they're horror, but they're satire at the same point. So like there's a place for that. That's just, there's a difference between that and just something which is crass. And so
a slasher movie or something. I was thinking about
slasher movies can be funny though.
That's true. That's true. So one of our probably
I've seen some of the funniest is watching it with certain people, and they're just like, "What the hell are you doing?"
They're very squeamish. I know certain people who it's not even a slasher movie, and they get any sort of
I don't like
violent
blood,
thing that
don't
ever
like
happens.
guts. I can't watch Saving Private Ryan. I can't watch. So yeah.
So one of my favorite authors, I think all of us love him, is C.S. Lewis, who wrote the great Screw Tape Letters, which kind of starts with that quote of the devil can't bear to be mocked. But I remember when because he was submitting that, and it was actually being published in a journal, like as kind of episodic entries. And for those that don't know, it's the whole premise is a senior devil is advising his nephew, who's a junior tempter, about what to do and how to. And somebody, apparently, the magazine that was being published in, a pastor from a country parish wrote and canceled his subscription because he says this articles that you've been running, these screw tape letters are basically diabolical. And that's what he says.
That was the point.
Exactly, which was the entire point. So in a sense, it was kind of like missing the point of this. So I think there is something within the Christian history where you have those kind of demonic images outside of cathedrals. What are those things called? Gargoyles. That are there. In a sense, it's kind of like all the devilry that's out there in the world. All that is being used to now serve what's happening inside here. It all becomes our footstool. The footstool of God who's given glory inside this place. So there's something about that I think is important for us to consider when we're talking about celebrating Halloween or not.
Sure. Now, I mean, in celebrating Halloween, one of the big things, especially, it's been this way since we were kids too. I mean, since Halloween's really been celebrated for a long time, is the dressing up. Mm-hmm. You get to dress up. I mean, I saw one of these pictures, one of these memes the other day where it showed some of the costumes from when I was a kid in the 70s, and it's pretty scary. And it's got, Bo Peep's one of them. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be scary, and it was just downright terrifying because of the way the masks looked then and the way they look now. So, it was kind of like, we used to scare ourselves just with the simple stuff. So what do you say to like a mom and a dad who their child's wanting to dress up this Halloween? Should they? And if so, I mean, what kind of prescriptions would you give them? What would you say about, maybe you want to stay away from these? I mean, we're obviously not going to sit here and have a lot of costumes walk through here and us go okay or no, but just kind of what's some guidelines for something like this?
Well, I say this, like it depends on your outfit a little Bo Peep.
Right. So these days that's a problem. For different reasons.
Are you dressing up like little Bo Peep or are you dressing up like little Bo Peep?
Right.
I think most people can understand what I'm saying right now. So obviously, if you are leading people into sin,
right,
if you're leading people into temptation, leading people into sin, then obviously promiscuity as well as provocative, like things that are intentionally trying to be provocative.
If sexy is put in front of anything,
sexy nurse, sexy teacher,
sexy mailman, or something like that.
Jim Gaffigan,
sexy sanitation worker. It's like,
Jim Gaffigan, a Catholic comedian, has a pretty funny analysis of different costumes that people wear and the motivations behind it. So that's the whole thing. Is like a costume party is a costume party, and so like having a costume party or a cultural costume event. I think Mardi Gras is a similar thing, like wearing masks and Mardi Gras, which is a Catholic. I mean, traditionally has been a Catholic costume party thing. Right. So, but the question becomes always: is what's the intent by which you're dressing up, and what is your intent? Is it to be provocative? Is it to mean it to?
Well, I mean, for some of these costumes for kids, I mean, some of them can be really scary. I mean, some of them can be like gruesome and bloody and seem demonic, or even some of them can be demonic as far as like the kids dress up like a demon or a witch or something like that. So I mean, what do you say to those kinds of things?
I mean, I generally speaking wouldn't dress up as a demon,
right,
things like that. But so I think it's
but there's a certain sense about the mockery of it that we were talking about. But
it is interesting that like not that long ago, probably in the 70s, which for us doesn't seem that long ago, but for
I don't know. I was before I was born.
I was born too, but for certain people here, it doesn't seem that long ago. Like
the glory days,
kids would dress as like Hitler and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like again, there's certain things that are now like we would not do that.
Never do that.
But there is something to say. Like I don't think it was because those kids were saying like, oh, I want democratic socialism and I want the Nazi party to rise up. That there was like kind of like a this is funny and ridiculous sort of treatment of it. I think our sensibilities have changed. I think too the fact that nowadays whatever costume you wear, there's going to be a picture of it that the whole world will be able to see for the rest of your life because it's on social media somewhere. Probably should that should inform that as well. I think the spiritual aspect of it. But also, too, like I was joking, before we started rolling, that I went to a Halloween party pretty recently, and just was with some friends of mine, a lot of them non-Catholic, and this couple showed up, and one was dressed as a priest, and one was dressed as a nun, and was a nun who was with child. So let's just put it in. So I think they, as soon as they saw me there, like, oh, and I wasn't shaming them. I wasn't saying it. I was dressed like I always dressed as a priest, which
I was
is,
gonna say,
I got a ready-made costume.
Halloween is the one day out of the year that we can be dressed in our clerics.
We can walk around
and we can walk around and everyone just is like, that's a great costume.
That's right. Yeah, so one time you want to go to the grocery store or the mall for us. So,
oh, dude, that's a good one. I'm like, actually, no, this is real. This is real plastic here.
It's stuff, yeah.
But it was interesting to me that when they walked in, they thought this was funny or whatever, and it's obviously it's crass and it's I would say, you know, disrespectful, bad taste. I don't think they're bad people because of that. Because I think for them, that's more of like it's an idea of these things. They're not really thinking of actual priests and actual nuns and people who, you know, vow their lives to Jesus and, you know, heroically made sacrifices for the sake of the kingdom of God, which is how I would view those things.
Yeah.
But seeing a real priest kind of like put it like, oh. It kind of made that. So I would say if you're wearing a costume that other people, you'd be embarrassed or mortified or ashamed, you know, that if someone walked in and saw you wearing, you know, your grandma or your priest or then you probably should rethink that as well. So I think there's something, if your kids want to dress up like superheroes or saints too, there's something kind of cool about that. And a good tradition of dressing up like saints
Saint parties.
As you're getting ready for All Saints Day, which is the next day.
My niece Cecilia, I think it was last year or the year before, dressed up like St. Lucy. And she walked around with a plate with 2 eyeballs on it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, you can get close to horror.
If you wanted to dress up like the saints, like you can do St. Barnabas, right? Which is a flayed man holding his...
John the Baptist.
St. John the Baptist.
I mean, you can get horror.
You could get true gruesome with some of the saints. You can do you can do Tarcisius being all beat up.
So maybe we need to be careful about these saint parties, huh?
Yeah,
maybe it could go not the way you may think it would go.
Some of the saints have some gruesome, and
the way they're depicted in
art,
in
Catholic
is
art,
usually pretty.
Even the Vatican, like you go. See some pretty gruesome stuff. So
well, I mean, even just going and visiting, you know, the saints that we have. I mean, you know, you have a hand here, you have a head here, you have a body without the head here. I mean, I think as Americans we don't see that as much, and so we don't know it. But if you've ever been to Europe, you see some of these things, and you're like, wow, I mean, you know. It's no wonder that sometimes people think we're weird. I
think it'd be hysterical to walk down. They're like, "That's a great headless horseman." And like, it's actually John the Baptist.
It's John the Baptist.
Exactly. Well, I'm about to go to Italy. Just my little humble brag on you guys. And we're going to go to the Bone Church, which we've actually explored. Actually, St. Dominic Media did an awesome episode about that Bone Church, because there's something about that, about like bones and death and everything else that we're kind of terrified of, and that's why we kind of laugh at it and mock it. Because we're nervous about it. But there's something like authentically Catholic about using all of this. It's actually a church made out of bones. Everything's made out of bones.
The interiors, I'm not sure the actual church.
Yeah, I don't know if the brick and mortar is. But there's something about that say like, because even death, as scary as it is, now serves the Lord. I think that's maybe one of the things that we've lost sight of as we've tried to get away from all this macabre, scary skeletons, cemeteries. They're like, let's reclaim this as Christians, which our job during the month of November is to pray for the dead.
Right.
Like that is one of the spiritual works of mercy that we are all called to do. And I love the practice. We have it here. A priest here in town goes to our local Catholic cemetery soon after November 2nd, which is All Souls Day, and has a special mass there. Yeah. People go to it, and there's something really great about it. Or visiting the tombs and placing flowers or saying prayers for those who have died. Yeah. I think we almost kind of like hand all that off to kind of this sort of weird macabre kind of world that's growing up, this industry that's growing up of like, the horror movies and cemeteries. Like, no, Christ has conquered that, so we need to go there and bring grace into that place, which is something we should all be striving for.
Yeah, in our county on All Souls Day, one of our county commissioners has started a service. It's called Lazarsfield. And so what they do is they have this very ecumenical service where they invite all these people there, and they sell. What we do is we do a burial for all those people in the city who've not been claimed. So the county, you may not know it, but the county has people who've passed away who've not been claimed. Family members haven't claimed them; they've been left. And so what our county does is they have an actual grave for them, and then we gather there on All Souls Day and say prayers for these people.
Oh, wow.
As we put them,
awesome.
as we bury them, and so it's just
one of the corporal
beautiful
works of
thing.
mercy,
One of the corporal
burying
works
the
of
dead.
mercy.
Yeah.
So it's just such a beautiful thing, and to me, it's just a reminder of what, like you said, what we're called to do. So get back to Halloween just a little bit. So what about some of these cultural traditions that we find? I mean, asking for candy, carving pumpkins, decorating your house, decorating the yard.
Mortal sin.
I carve a mean pumpkin, man.
Yeah, what do we make of these things? I mean, because these things are, they're fun things, and I mean, I'm sure you can draw some Christian reference back to them. I'm sure you can draw some pagan reference back to them.
You can,
these things that Catholics ought to be participating in.
Well, I think we can, properly balanced, obviously, but I think it's actually probably good to say, because there's something about those traditional things that we can do as a family. Everyone can carve a pumpkin, kids, and some can do it better than others. And we kind of see it with that.
Are you saying that not all pumpkins are equal?
Not all pumpkins are equal.
I don't think they
Not all
are.
pumpkin carvers are equal.
So
Have you ever seen mine? We're terrible.
there's a great maybe kind of invitation for us to recognize there's great traditions within just the year, the liturgical year, we'd call it, of the church. There's a lot of great articles and blogs and people who do this, Catholic bloggers and vloggers and everything else who say, like, here's ways you can, as a family, participate in this of getting ready for the, St. Nicholas Day, or praying for the, making, things to go and decorate tombs during All Souls month. Or there's lots of different things, or ways to build your own rosary, learn how to do that. Very tactile kind of project. So I think it's great within the context of all those things. If that's the only time that you as a family ever do something, maybe be like, all right, maybe we can expand this a little bit and have a little more Christian influence for it. But no, there's nothing wrong with carving a pumpkin. If you do have this is maybe a good thing, just to remind people, if you have seen these sorts of things that are connected to something that's satanic or to a coven, maybe you might have a little more sensitivity there.
Right.
So maybe there needs to be, you need to get that out of your life. And so maybe be like, I can't even look at a pumpkin because it's associated with something demonic. All right, you don't have to do it. If you choose not to do it, you're totally free to do that as well. But no, nothing inherently wrong with pumpkin carving.
Yeah, no.
Well, good. Well, thank you all for joining us for this conversation on Halloween. I hope
Was it spooky enough? I feel like it could have been spookier.
We could have ended it with one of us should have been wearing a
Scary
mask.
skeletons
during the whole
hopping out of
time,
the
right?
You could say that probably if you were to just carve your pumpkins this year and just get one of those, or just do the political candidates that you're going to vote for a week later. That might be the scariest.
That might be scariest
pumpkin. They can just doing the nominees of who, because don't forget that's going to be a week later.
Yeah,
that's when the true horror might strike.
Sometimes real life is a lot scarier than what we make believe it to be. So thank you for joining us for Catholic in America. God bless.